You know that feeling, right? The room is finally quiet, the lights are off, your body is ready for rest, but your mind is running a marathon. It's replaying that weird conversation from this morning. It's rehearsing a meeting for tomorrow. It's digging up some worry you thought you buried weeks ago. If that sounds at all familiar, well, you're definitely not alone. And it turns out there's a really profound reason why this happens. So let's get one thing straight right off the bat. You are not failing at rest. This isn't some bug in your system. It's not a flaw you need to go out and fix. Honestly, it's pretty much the opposite. See, the reason your mind just refuses to quiet down is because your awareness has gotten so sharp that it sees and it feels and it questions everything with this incredible, almost microscopic detail. It's actually a sign of a mind that is deeply, deeply engaged with the world. A mind that's noticing all the little nuances that most people just let slide right by. And that brings us to the big question for this whole explainer. Why does this incredible awareness so often feel like a burden? Well, two of history's greatest thinkers spent their entire lives wrestling with this exact weight, the philosopher Friedrich Nietzsche and the psychiatrist Carl Jung. And lucky for us, they left behind a kind of map to help us understand this really strange territory. Okay, so let's dive into this first core idea. Being incredibly intelligent doesn't make your life easier. Not at all. It just makes life louder. Because the more clearly you see the world, the more you start to notice everything that's broken or incomplete or just flat out contradictory. And once you see it, there's no unseeing it. This quote just perfectly captures the paradox, doesn't it? Imagine you're out to dinner with friends. It's great, the conversation is flowing, people are laughing, but a part of your mind is kind of hovering above the table, just watching. It's noticing that tiny little pause before someone laughed. It's editing the sentence you just said in real time. The moment itself is good, but you're not 100% in it because you're also observing it. Nietzsche actually had a name for this state. He called it the sickness of self-reflection. It's that point when your awareness becomes so sharp that it creates this internal watcher. And this watcher is never, ever satisfied. It's the source of all that constant inner noise, that endless feedback loop of analysis that makes it so hard to just, be. So this constant self-observation, it creates a really deep conflict inside of us. Both Nietzsche and Jung saw this as a kind of battle between two fundamental forces within our psyche, a full-on war being fought inside a single mind. Nietzsche called these two forces the Apollonian and the Dionysian. The Apollonian, that's the part of you that loves order and logic and making lists. It tries to keep everything neat and under control. It's what gives your life manageability. But then there's the Dionysian. That's the wild, chaotic, passionate part of you that craves intensity and ecstasy. It's what makes life feel real. And Nietzsche's big argument was that our modern world has put the Apollonian on a pedestal, and in the process, we've buried that wild, passionate, essential part of ourselves. Now, Carl Jung, he came at this same internal division from a psychological angle, with his idea of the shadow. The shadow is basically this container in our unconscious where we shove all the parts of ourselves that we've been taught are unacceptable. And this isn't just the bad stuff like anger or selfishness. It can also be really positive things we were taught to suppress, like our ambition or our creativity or even our vulnerability. And this right here is the absolute crucial point. Just because you pretend your shadow doesn't exist, it doesn't mean it goes away. Oh no, it just waits. That anger you swallowed, that sadness you told yourself to get over, it's all down there, waiting for the quiet moments. Because the shadow you deny is the one that ends up controlling you. It leaks out sideways, as passive aggression, or as anxiety, or as that sudden outburst that seems to come from absolutely nowhere. So, you've got this intense awareness, you've got this war raging inside you, and you're questioning absolutely everything. What happens when the very foundation of meaning itself starts to crumble underneath you? This is probably Nietzsche's most famous and definitely his most misunderstood statement. People hear God is dead and they think he was celebrating. He was not. He was absolutely terrified. What he saw was that the traditional structures that gave life meaning for centuries, things like religion, were collapsing, and he knew we weren't ready for what came next. He predicted that this collapse would lead to nihilism, that chilling realization that nothing has any inherent meaning. This is that gut-wrenching moment when the bottom just falls out of everything, and you realize that all the rules and values you've lived by are just made up. Meaning isn't something you go out and find. It's something you have to create from scratch. This whole meaning collapse thing, it usually happens in a few stages. First, there's the constant questioning of everything. Then comes the shocking realization that you, and only you, have to make your own meaning. And finally, you're hit with the absolute terror of that total freedom. Because if nothing inherently matters, then you are responsible for choosing what matters. And for most people, that kind of responsibility isn't liberating. It is paralyzing. So, is that it? Are we just doomed to this cycle of suffering and anxiety? Not at all. Both Nietzsche and Jung saw this crisis not as the end of the road, but as the starting point. They saw it as a necessary breakdown that has to happen before you can have a breakthrough. Their solutions, while they use different words, point in the exact same direction. For Nietzsche, the whole goal was to become the Übermensch, or overman, basically a person who could stand right in the middle of that void of meaninglessness and have the strength to create their own values. For Jung, the goal was what he called individuation, the lifelong process of integrating all the fragmented parts of yourself, especially dragging the shadow out into the light of consciousness. Both of these paths are active. They require courage. And here's what's so important to get about this. Neither Nietzsche nor Jung saw these as some kind of final destination you arrive at. The Übermensch, the fully individuated person, these are ideals. They're something to strive for. The point is not to achieve perfection. The point is the direction you're heading. It's about making that shift from being a passive passenger in your own life to being an active creator. So all of this brings us right back to where we started. Back to that mind of yours, that restless mind that just will not be quiet. What if we've been looking at it all wrong? What if that restlessness isn't a flaw at all, but a feature? What if it's a sign that you have depth, that you're truly aware, that your mind is still growing? It's the price you pay for being awake, a sign of your absolute refusal to just sleepwalk through your own life. Yes, the suffering that comes with this awareness is real, but it's also the very proof that you are alive and you are engaged with the world. And this is exactly why the work of self-awareness is so incredibly critical. This famous line from Jung is such a powerful call to action. See all those parts of you that you don't see, your shadow, your hidden potential, they're still making choices for you. They're influencing your reactions, they're shaping your path. And if you don't do the work to actually look at them, you'll just think it's bad luck or other people's fault. You'll call it fate. So let's just end with this thought. What if your overthinking, your restlessness, your constant questioning, what if it isn't a bug in your system, but a feature? A feature of a mind that simply refuses to stop growing. And if you see it that way, maybe it's not a curse we have to endure, but a kind of grace we get to live with.